Has Ron Paul formed a political alliance with Mitt Romney? And this is obviously from Infowars.com today. Big story. The suggestion that Ron Paul and Mitt Romney are in cahoots because Paul is in the frame to become Romney's VP pick has again surfaced following last night's Republican debate in Mesa, Arizona, after which Rick Santorum claimed the two candidates were coordinating attacks against his campaign. Quote, "You have to ask Congressman Paul and Governor Romney what they've got going together," Santorum told reporters. "Their commercials look a lot alike, and so do their attacks." Santorum's campaign strategist John Brabender repeated the charge, stating, quote, "Clearly there's a tag team strategy between Ron Paul and Mitt Romney. For all I know, Mitt Romney might be considering Ron Paul as his running mate. Clearly there is now an alliance between those two, and you saw that certainly in the debate." Now, of course, this didn't begin with Rick Santorum. This is not an invention of Rick Santorum. This story's been around for a few weeks now, if not a couple of months. And as far as we can work out, basically what's happened is this. This has not come from Ron Paul himself. It's not Ron Paul's doing. You're never going to see Ron Paul endorse Mitt Romney, you know, the ultimate establishment candidate who, of course, as we know, is the elite's pick for the Republican nomination. If you see... Check out some of the links we've posted in this article. It becomes clear that the GOP establishment itself has attempted to some degree of success to infiltrate Ron Paul's campaign and push him towards this alliance with Romney. It's mainly because the establishment does not want Ron Paul to go third party. They don't want him on that libertarian ticket because it could lead to a Ross Perot situation, which is largely out of their control. I mean, that's when the establishment gets nervous, is when they're unable to completely be in control of all the political candidates in the race coming down to the final furlong. So they're basically pushing either Ron Paul or his son, Senator Rand Paul. And to be fair, Rand Paul's come out and said he'd be honored to be Romney's VP. Jesse Benton, Ron Paul's campaign manager, said words to the same effect. So they're pushing either Ron Paul or Rand Paul to be Romney's VP. This is coming from within the Ron Paul campaign, as far as we can work out. And this is the establishment GOP's attempt to co-opt and control the Ron Paul revolution. They're terrified that Paul's message could eventually take over the Republican Party. So they're trying to be proactive and subvert Ron Paul's campaign. And according to Justin Raimondo, whose article we've got linked up in ours, it's coming from this guy called Trigov Olson, who is one of these pro-interventionist regime change specialists, National Endowment of Democracy and all that, behind the colour revolutions, who now, bizarrely, given his pro-interventionist foreign policy ideas, is an advisor to the Paul campaign. So he's the one pushing Paul towards being, you know, having this alliance with Mitt Romney. Now, on the flip side, you could argue, you know, wouldn't it be fantastic for Ron or Rand Paul to be VP? They'd be one step away from the Oval Office. And you can certainly see it from that perspective, especially given the fact, as we've covered, that Ron Paul's basically being cheated out of primary wins and second place finishes in at least 3 states by the Republican establishment, as we covered yesterday. But what I know for a fact is this, amongst all this speculation about a Ron Paul-Mitt Romney alliance, most Ron Paul supporters absolutely hate the idea. And that's going off not just respondents to the article on our website, but the general sentiment across pro-Paul supporter websites. And you can bet that the establishment media is going to push this story, as they already are, because it certainly works to create divisions within the Ron Paul movement. But as Republican strategist Jack Berkman predicted last week, which we featured on Infowars.com, he said there would be a Paul on the Republican ticket. He was talking about a brokered convention. And so if that does indeed happen as a result of an alliance with Mitt Romney, the ultimate establishment candidate, you can bet your bottom dollar that a lot of people are not going to be happy about it, and it's going to cause a great degree of controversy amidst the Ron Paul movement. Now, Lou Rockwell, who of course is close to the Paul campaign, was on the Alex Jones show earlier today, and he had some interesting comments on this subject, so let's hear from him now.
Is it good, instead of just losing and being cheated or whatever, to take a VP run from Mitt Romney and bring all those voters in, defeat Barack Obama, and now have Ron Paul with a bully pulpit to be able to at least inject some sanity? Well, three things come into play. I don't think Mitt Romney's going to do that, even though this is what the evidence shows being discussed behind the scenes and being offered to Ron Paul if he plays ball and doesn't run third party. I think they'll betray Ron Paul. Let me just say, I think this is all a bad idea. My gut tells me that. But I know why the Paul campaign is looking at all options, and they clearly are. Does that mean Ron Paul is going to go with the bad idea? No. But it means some of the people below him who are younger and don't have his wisdom are certainly chomping at the bit at this, because they get to go on. They get to be in the vice president's office if you're Jesse Benton, if you're Rachel Mills, if you're these people. You get to be in the White House. So what are you going to advise Ron Paul on? And I know he's wise enough to still take counsel to bounce ideas around. But they think it's enough of a discussion. Not Mills, I just use her as an example. Benton does, to have said things like this repeatedly about Rand Paul. And maybe that is a step up. Maybe Benton's right. I'm just stating all angles here, because I can tell you that's what's going on in their brains. This isn't, oh my gosh, Ron Paul's bad, some people are discussing him running as VP, when he hasn't done that. It's some of his people have, when asked over and over again. Was it out of turn? Is it wrong? We don't know. We'll ask Ron Paul next time he's on with us. You better believe it. I've put my cards on the table. Lou, what do you say about what I've said, and what's your gut on this, and what's the inside baseball on this subject? Because I haven't been able to get Ron on the last month or so.
Well, Alex, remember, I'm not a spokesman for Ron or for the campaign, so I'm just giving you my own view. But I think it's all a trick. It's just another establishment trick to make it look like Ron Paul is a sellout like all the rest of them. Ron Paul has never sold out. Ron Paul will never sell out. And so this has two pieces. As you said, to bring down Ron Paul, to make him seem like he's just one of the regular criminal bunch. And the other is to make Ron Paul supporters like Romney. Well, if he's willing to consider Ron Paul as a VP, Romney must be a pretty good guy. Well, because Romney, exactly like Gingrich and Santorum, even though Romney's a more pleasant person, and I'm sure his wife is a nice person, his kids are nice, and all those kinds of questions. But really, he's, as you say, he's a globalist. He's a big government guy. He believes in corporatism and fascism and the partnership between big government and big business. He's a warmonger. He's an imperialist. He's a protectionist. He's a big government guy, big spender, bail out the banks. I mean, he's bad on virtually everything. I guess, he was against the bailout of GM. But my guess is if he were president, he would have done it, and he would have made a lot of money out of it, because that's the kind of guy he is. He makes a lot of money out of government projects. So, no, I think this is just another trick, and they would never let Ron Paul be vice president. Ron Paul has a chance, we all hope and pray, to push his way into office by the people putting him there. However, the idea that the regime would invite him into office is just science fiction.